HobaCare Jojoba is 100% pure, high-quality jojoba, and it is ideal for the work we do as massage and bodywork professionals. The closest product to the natural sebum that our skin produces, HobaCare provides a deeply nourishing massage medium that will not clog pores. HobaCare is non-allergenic, so you can use it on every client and not worry about allergic reactions. HobaCare is shelf-stable and will not stain your natural fiber sheets, making it an excellent choice for professional use and saving you money. With HobaCare Jojoba, you can offer your clients a superior experience that benefits both skin health and overall well-being. Our listeners can receive 20% off their order with code ABMP. Learn more at HobaCare.com. Welcome to Business or Pressure, taking the pain out of massage business with me, Allissa Haines. This is your no-nonsense guide to building a happy, sustainable massage therapy business. It's our mission to make sure that every massage therapist and body worker has the tools to make a living wage in a thriving business. Let's jump in. Today, we are talking about paper, the actual substance made from trees that is ubiquitous in our massage businesses. I'm not trying to convince anyone that they don't need paper in their massage business, but there's a chance you could probably use less if, in fact, the abundance of paper in your business is causing you stress. And I want to make sure that if you are using paper, which we've all got some of it in one way or another, that we are handling it responsibly. So let's start with that. Any paper that is involved in our business, whether it be keeping all the paper receipts or contracts or copies of insurance policies or leases, any kind of contract, all of that. And if you are keeping paper client charts, there are 3 steps to ethically and properly handling that paper. The first step is to sort it, organize it in a way that is logical so that you can find what you are looking for when you are looking for it. And the next step is to secure it. It should be stored in a locked, fireproof, ideally, storage box or file cabinet. And important papers should also be stored digitally in the cloud or backed up on a hard drive that's kept separate from that file cabinet. It should be secure from privacy breaches or loss from some kind of accident or disaster. And then the last step there is to shred it. When it is time to dispose of that paper, dispose of it in a manner that protects your privacy, the privacy of your business, and the privacy of that client if their name is on that piece of paper. And I think that's an important starting point. Any paper that you keep needs to be dealt with properly, and that means sorting it, securing it, and ultimately shredding it. All right, the first big specific chunk of paper we're going to talk about is appointment books, paper calendar appointment books that we carry around with us. And that is actually what inspired this particular episode. I was speaking with a colleague the other day who is using a paper appointment book, but having a really hard time managing multiple calendars within it. And she's got online scheduling in her business. So someone can schedule an appointment online, it populates to that online calendar, and then she's got to manually write it into her paper appointment book. But she's got other things she needs to track in that appointment book. Personal appointments, her partner's appointments, all kinds of things. But she didn't know that you could actually aggregate that all into one online calendar, like a Google Cal or an iCal, or there's a variety of different digital calendar options. Now, listen, I understand some people are never going to let go of their paper appointment books, and that is totally cool. But if you didn't know there was another option, now you know there is another option. And moreover, a paper appointment book, while it might emotionally make you feel more secure to have that paper in your hand, it's actually less secure than a digital calendar. Because that paper book can be lost or destroyed, or you can have your purse stolen, or you can just misplace it, or it can end up in a fire. And then you don't know where you're supposed to be for the next 6 months because everything was written in that piece of paper. When you use a digital calendar, it can be backed up in multiple places on multiple devices. And even if you lose your phone, you can access that calendar from any other device or your computer or what have you. Does that mean if you are a dedicated paper appointment book person, you should do only what Allissa says and get rid of it and confuse yourself with a digital calendar? No, of course not. But if you are struggling in any way and that paper appointment book isn't serving you, there are other options. The next most common issue is the abundance of paper bills and receipts that we deal with in a business and frankly in our personal lives. But we're talking about business today. There are a lot of options for turning paper receipts and bills into digital receipts and bills and storing them in a way that's easy to find. We're going to talk about some specific scanning tools a little later. But for now, if you are using any kind of online accounting system or bookkeeping system, there's probably a feature in there that's built in that will allow you to scan and upload an image of that receipt or that bill or that invoice and store it right along with that transaction in your bank account. Typically, bookkeeping systems have that integrated right in. If you're not using a bookkeeping system, but you still want to have some kind of backup or just get rid of your paper receipts altogether, they can very easily be scanned with a mobile device and then stored in a file on your desktop or in cloud storage. And when you get receipts or bills or invoices via email, it's pretty quick and easy to save that email as a PDF file and then put it in that file on your desktop or in cloud storage with all the others. I will say that the game changer for scanning and saving bills and receipts is how you name your files. If you name your files in a consistent manner, staying organized and then uploading them to your bookkeeping system or just finding them when you need them becomes so easy. I'm a little embarrassed that it took me like 15 years of scanning and saving receipts and bills and such before I came up with a really good naming system. And now when I name a file, I name it in a very specific way. I put the date, I put the thing or the place, and the amount. If I go to the business supply store on April 2nd and I buy some legal pads and it cost me $10, that file is going to say 4/2/24 Staples 10.00. It's going to have the date, it's going to have the store, it's going to be the amount. And when I store that receipt with that file name, it becomes really, really easy to find if I need that receipt for some reason. All right, the next big stack of paper that fills up our file cabinets are intake forms and charts. When you're using paper charts, it can feel really jarring to switch to digital intake forms and record keeping. And maybe it's not right for you and it's not right for your client base. But if you got too much paper going on, or you find that it's taking people a really long time to fill out that paper intake form before their appointment, or you're emailing them the PDF and they're supposed to print it out and complete it and bring it with them, and that's not happening because who even has a printer anymore? If the system that you have isn't working great for you, it might be time to explore some different options. So if you already use online scheduling, see if your program has a feature for intake forms or record keeping. If you're not using online scheduling and you're not gonna, but you're ready to maybe move to online intake forms and charts, there are programs built just for massage therapists. You can also build your own intake forms and create client charts using Google's Workspace with their forms and their spreadsheets and their documents. And there's a whole bunch of options for online forms, but typically the easiest way is to use it within your scheduling system. And if the transition to digital seems overwhelming, you're right, because it can be. And you don't have to overhaul all of your old paper files and client charts immediately. You can transition by just starting to use online forms and charts for new clients. Once you get the hang of it and you've got a rhythm, you can transition so that your current clients have to fill out a new intake form, which is good to have people fill out a new intake form every couple of years anyway. And you can transition their client charts to an online format. If you want to get rid of that file cabinet and you've transitioned to digital forms and charts, You can have a big old scanning party with yourself and scan all the old paper files and just store them in digital files online if you need to access them in the future. It's a big job. It's also great to get rid of a file cabinet. I did this several years ago, and it was a project over several nights of putting movies on and scanning like crazy and naming files. It was a little tedious, but I don't have a big file cabinet anymore, and storage space was an issue for me. And if you choose to stay with paper charts, that's totally awesome. Make sure they are secure and then shred them when it's time, depending on your state rules about keeping client charts or whatever the longevity of your business. The next stack of documents that tends to be the biggest offender outside of client charts is just all the random contracts and certificates we get. So continuing education records, insurance policies, an inventory of your office contents, copies of all your licensure stuff and permits and old calendars, and all of these things can be stored digitally. And there are some of them that are so important, like maybe your original massage school certificate, that you want to keep the hard copy of, and you also want to scan it so you have a backup in the cloud. This is true for any kind of contract. Your lease, you want to have the paper signed copy, and you also want to scan it and have one in the cloud in case your paper copy gets ruined. Insurance policies, especially that inventory of your office contents, pictures of your office contents, all stored in the cloud so that if something happens in your actual physical space, you have digital records of these things. And this is going to clear out 2 drawers of your file cabinet. The next and final category I've got for you is actually an easy one. Getting rid of owner's manuals and guides. Things you buy nowadays that have an owner's manual. If it actually comes with the manual, you can find that thing online. So many things now just come with a little QR code to scan, and it will bring you to the online manual. So if you've got a file folder that's got these chunky manuals of the instruction guide for your copier, the assembly instructions for the furniture, the manual for your air cleaner, all of these things you can very likely find online. Do a little Google search of your printer name, and you're going to find that PDF online. You can just create a document and put the link to that in there for every manual you might want to have on record. Or you can just download that PDF and store it in a Google file. And again, name that file carefully and accurately so it'll be really easy to find when you need it. Finally, what are the tools that we use to do all this? The first tool is not in any way digital, but it is a place to keep paper things before you process them. So for me, it's a shelf in my office where if I've got some piece of paper that I need to deal with, it goes onto that shelf until I deal with it, which ideally is within a week. I have a spot at home, like a little magazine file box on a shelf. Any paper I need to deal with at home goes into that spot at home. And stuff that happens in transit, receipts on the fly, on the go, those get roughly shoved into my purse, but I clean my purse out every couple of days and pull all the receipts out. Processing all of this paper, I use digital tools on my phone for scanning receipts and paper documents. Most phones have a built-in feature now that does this. You don't even need a third-party app. I think for Apple phones, it's in the Notes app. I think on other kinds of phones, you can take a picture and change it to a PDF so you can look into what works for your device. I actually still use a third-party app because I'm just used to it. I use an app called Scannable, and I think it's only available for Apple devices, but there is a program called JotNot that has an app for, I think, all kinds of devices and works really well too. And they're both free. I don't pay for any of these things. My favorite and what I think is the most versatile tool for storing all of these digital files, I've mentioned it before, is Google's Workspace or Google Drive. Within your Google Drive, you can create all kinds of files to easily store these digital receipts. You can name the files well. You can organize them well. It's just a big virtual filing cabinet. And depending on the level of Google account that you use, it's going to either be free or very affordable, like $7 or $8 a month. If you choose to store your digital files on a device like a laptop or a home computer, I strongly suggest you have some kind of regular backup to the cloud. There are programs that do this like Dropbox. Anything you store in a certain file on your desktop automatically syncs to a cloud. So if your computer is destroyed, you can access it elsewhere. If you're old school, you can back up your computer onto an external hard drive and just store that hard drive somewhere else. You don't want your hard drive and your computer in the same place. And I'm going to fess up a little bit. What paper do I actually keep around? Because I do actually keep paper around. I'm not hardcore. And again, I'm not telling you should get rid of every piece of paper. I keep legal pads around. I need some kind of actual paper to put down random thoughts while I'm on a phone call, while I'm watching a webinar, or just as I move throughout my day at my office or at home. I also have a tiny little notebook, a little hardcover notebook. It's very small, in my bag with a pen so that if I need to actually write something down or rip out a page and give some information to somebody else, I've got the tools to do that on the go. And again, I've got that file box at home and a shelf at the office where all my paper goes until I can sit down and deal with it. And I do commit to sitting down and dealing with it on a regular basis, like weekly. And at my office, I have a handful of paper intake forms for people who don't fill out the online form for whatever reason. And I have actual paper gift certificates. So when someone is in front of me and wants to buy a gift certificate, I've got a pretty paper one to do that, in addition to selling them online. Going paperless should represent your business style and your priorities. You're going to find a combination that works for you and makes you comfortable and makes your business easier to run. Of course, there's going to be a learning curve, but once you get through that, your business will be easier to run. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but I hope I've given you some ideas to get started. Today's high five goes to Cal Cates, founder of HealWell. And Cal was on the ABMP podcast. If you don't listen to all the different kinds of episodes, please know there's some Tuesday episodes that are awesome. And Cal was on one of them talking about their column in the May-June issue of the magazine, Walking the Fine Line of Friendship and Therapist. And I saw the title and I cringed a little bit because I, for a minute, didn't realize it was Cal. And I was like, oh, this is going to be somebody who's like hardcore saying that you can't ever have any kind of dual relationship and yawn. I'm so tired of that. And then I saw that it was Cal and I listened to the episode. It's just so good. My favorite part about Cal's work is that they embrace the gray area and therapeutic relationships. There's a lot of gray area in there. So if you have not listened, I suggest you listen to episode 432 of the ABMP podcast, Walking That Fine Line of Friendship and Therapist. And I'll put the show link in our notes. But it's wherever you're listening to this podcast now. So high five, Cal. You inspire me on a regular basis. And that's it. If you have a question about running your business or you have an idea for an episode, please, please, please email me, businessorpressure@abmp.com. You can also find me hanging out with my community of massage therapists over at deepbreathdigital.com/community, and make sure you are subscribed to ABMP's podcast so you don't miss a beat. There is so much to learn about building and maintaining a massage business. It can be a little exhausting, but we're going to help you through it. I will meet you right here for the next episode. I can't wait.